Hello, hello. Welcome back to Talking Balls. I'm your host, Saifeh, and in a much better mood today than last week, as you can tell. This episode, the 26-27 Premier League season, almost upon us. I mean, it's just another 2 weeks to go as I record this. But this episode, we aren't going to be looking ahead to the next season just yet. We're actually going to be looking at players from the past. Before we dig into it, as always, I appreciate your support for listening. Thank you very much for listening. Please give us a like and follow here on Spotify. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. I would include links in the show notes if for YouTube, if this is on Spotify, and for the Spotify page, if this is on YouTube. As always, again, I'm happy to engage with everyone as well. So please do leave a comment and I will respond as soon as I can. If you want to, if you're not comfortable putting a public comment, or you can always send it to the email, dareToyan@gmail.com, DARETOYAN@gmail.com. I'll also include that in the show notes. So, folks, since we're looking at players from the past, get your pitchforks ready because this episode, I'm going to be looking at the greatest Premier League XI of all time, in my opinion. So, remember, guys, key to picking this, I'm not really looking at balance or how they or team chemistry or anything. I'm just looking at players in for the different positions who I feel deserve the recognition of being in this team, greatest team of all time for the Premier League. And of course, do remember this is a hypothetical XI, so any club rivalries and all that can be forgotten for the next 25-30 minutes. All right. So if I give you my selection, I'm just going to give you the player pool I selected from. It's just going position by position with the greatest Premier League players of all time for each position since the Premier League, as it officially became branded from September 1992. If there's anyone missing from the pool, don't worry about that. I did have some criteria picking the pool. So first up, they must have played in the Premier League for 5 continuous seasons at the very least. Sorry, I just remembered someone else to add to the pool as I record. So excuse me 1 second. Yeah, so they must have played at least 5 continuous seasons in the Premier League. Ideally, must have won the Premier League title at least once. I have made about 4 exceptions here just because I thought while they didn't win the Premier League as part of the Premier, while they weren't part of Premier League winning teams, their individual play alone merited recognition, was enough to merit this recognition. Finally, they must have been included in at least one PFA Team of the Year, so the Premier League's official Team of the Year. So let's get into the pool. So with goalkeepers, I have got 6 people on this list, and this is my ranking, not necessarily in order, but these are the 6 greatest Premier League goalkeepers in my opinion. Petr Cech from Chelsea, Peter Schmeichel from Manchester United, and later, for some reason, Manchester City. David Seaman from Arsenal, Edwin van der Sar from Fulham, and then Manchester United, David De Gea from Manchester United, and finally Alisson from Liverpool. Fullbacks, the right backs, Gary Neville, Manchester United, Kyle Walker, Tottenham, and then Manchester City, Branislav Ivanovic, Chelsea. Left backs, Ashley Cole, Arsenal, then Chelsea. Patrice Evra, Manchester United. Dennis Irwin, Manchester United. And Gael Clichy, Arsenal, then Manchester City. Centre backs, John Terry, Chelsea. Rio Ferdinand, West Ham, Leeds, Manchester United. Tony Adams, Arsenal. Nemanja Vidic, Manchester United. Vincent Kompany, Manchester City. Sol Campbell, Tottenham, Arsenal, Portsmouth. Gary Pallister, Manchester United. Virgil van Dijk and Sami Hyypiä, Liverpool. Central midfielders. So I've grouped the defensive ones, the central, and the attacking all in one batch here. Roy Keane, Manchester United, Nottingham Forest, then Manchester United, Paul Scholes, Manchester United, Frank Lampard, Chelsea, Patrick Vieira, Arsenal, Cesc Fabregas, Arsenal, then Chelsea, Steven Gerrard, Liverpool, David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne, Manchester City. Surprisingly short on the United ones there. Wingers or wide forwards, David Beckham, Cristiano Ronaldo, Ryan Giggs, all Manchester United, Dennis Bergkamp, Arsenal, Mo Salah, Liverpool, Eden Hazard, Chelsea. And strikers, Alan Shearer, Blackburn, Newcastle, Wayne Rooney, Everton, Manchester United, Thierry Henry, City, Arsenal, Harry Kane, Tottenham, Andy Cole, Newcastle, then Manchester United, Eric Cantona, Leeds, then Manchester United, Ian Wright, Crystal Palace, then Arsenal, Didier Drogba, Chelsea, and Ruud van Nistelrooy, Manchester United. So, if there's anyone I've missed, please do let me know. I'm going to dig into my XI now, picking out from each position. Actually, as a side note, I will start with the formation, which I'm going for 4-3-1-2. So the wingers and wide forwards unfortunately miss out. I will explain that later on. But I'll start from the back. I will build up from the back as always. Goalkeepers. I think this one is the toughest for me because obviously there's only one person who can be picked, and there's so many quality selections. David De Gea and Alisson with recency bias, Edwin van der Sar and Petr Cech were the greats when I started watching football in the mid 2000s. Peter Schmeichel and David Seaman were obviously mainly legends of the 90s. Uh, but there's one guy I just think, just because of obscene longevity and the fact he is the all-time record holder for most clean sheets in in Premier League history, that is Petr Cech. I It's really tough because all of these guys are fantastic, but Petr Cech, um, incredible reflexes, and also coming back dealing with the injuries the horrendous injury that he did, the skull fracture, I believe it was, coming back having to put that cap on. I think it's one of the most notable images of Premier League players of all time. That's Petr Cech in the green or yellow Chelsea goalkeeping kit with his head cover, making incredible save after incredible save. Of course, he was part of that legendary Chelsea defense that conceded, was it 15 league goals in an entire season? So, just because he's been involved in so many of these records, I kind of have to give him the edge over the likes of Peter Schmeichel and Van der Sar. In terms of fullbacks, right backs, Branislav Ivanovic is one of those 7/10 every week, solid, consistent. I think what bites against him is he was in the league for about 9 years, if I remember correctly, maybe eight. So he's, I would say, third. I think all-time greatest Premier League right back is down to Gary Neville, Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker, of course, absolute. I don't want to call him a pace merchant because that kind of limits his. It kind of it's an insult to his ability, and it kind of just puts paints a picture of someone who relied on his pace. But his pace was it was a great asset. Let's be honest. This is the kind of guy who could go up against the likes of Vinicius Junior and Mbappe and keep up with them. Uh, he was incredibly, he was brilliant going forward as well. Always on the overlap, always going forward, especially in his final few seasons at Spurs and then the early seasons at Manchester City under Pep Guardiola. Defensively, I think he was a bit lacking, but again, his pace more than made up for a lot of any of the shortcomings. But for me, and some of you might say it's a Manchester United bias, purely the fact he was a starting Premier League right back for what, upwards of 15 years or so, won eight. No, he won about, yeah, won about what, 10, 11 Premier League titles. Um, won two Champions League titles. Ever present. And we talk about Kyle Walker and his early days at Manchester City and how he was, after what, about 4 or 5 years, he was phased out. You never had that with Gary Neville. Granted, injuries towards the end of his career did prevent him from playing as much as he would have liked, or we would have wanted to see him play. But under Sir Alex Ferguson, in an ever evolving Manchester United side, he was the beacon of dependability at right back, not just for Manchester United, but for England as well. And for that reason, I just think the solidity, the consistency year in, year out, and of course the trophies to go along with it. Gary Neville for me is the greatest Premier League right back of all time, and he's my right back for this XI. Left side is a bit easier. Um, I have Gail Clichy on there. It's like a little bit of a tiered system on this one. Gail Clichy is the fourth guy on here, but he's clear fourth. There's numbers 2 and 3 for me are quite tight, but a bit of a gap between them and number one. So numbers 2 and 3, Patrice Evra, Dennis Irwin in no order, both brilliant Manchester United left backs. Between the two of them, they locked up the Manchester United left back spot for about, I'd say close to, oh no, it was, I'd say almost 2 decades. Of course, there was a period of Gabriel Heinze between the two of them. But yeah, the greatest left back, Premier League left back of all time is the one and only Ashley Cole. I know he had that a bit of shall we say acrimonious exit from Arsenal and moving to Chelsea, but defensively fantastic, one-on-ones fantastic, but he was the epitome of the attacking left back in English football. Absolutely brilliant going forwards. Always putting in a great ball. Got himself a few goals as well. Ashley Cole, yeah. I feel like there's I have a view that left backs tend to be more attacking than right backs, and and part of that view has been formed because watching United, obviously, Patrice Evra was always going forward more than Gary Neville. Always seemed more likely to bump forward, but it grew from Ashley Cole. Ashley Cole was the flying fullback on the left side in English football. There's other guys outside English football, but just for now, English football, Ashley Cole, yeah, greatest left back in Premier League history for me. Left back for this XI. Centre backs, oh, this one I had to think about, but I I think when I got to the final decision, it was quite easy to settle on it. John Terry, Rio Ferdinand. I don't think there's going to be many arguments. Both were Premier League stalwarts, 15 years plus. Um, both multiple Premier League titles, one between them. Started together for England for many, many years as well. Absolute world class stars in the prime. Two greatest Premier League centre backs, in my opinion. Um, it's a fairly easy decision, really. Yeah, like John Terry, Rio Ferdinand at back two. So the back four or back five, as you will, are Petr Cech, Gary Neville, Ashley Cole, Rio Ferdinand, and John Terry in the middle. Three Chelsea players, two United players. I did not think about that when I was making this team. It feels a bit off to me, but we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. We'll accept it for now. Coincidentally, as well, the entire back five I've just listed were the back five in the PFA Team of the Year for the 2004-2005 Premier League season. So think of that way you will. Think of that yet. Like, I think that is the year Chelsea set the record, I believe, with 15 goals conceded or something. So tells you a lot, doesn't it? Like, but also just imagine, I mean, with the exception of Petr Cech, all the others are English. So imagine what that English back four could have been. Or it makes you really think about what those English teams back then could have been like if they just put club rivalries aside. But moving on from defense into midfield, tell you what, yeah, this one, I went back and forth on it a few times. So I'm going to start with the one person who was always in this midfield three from the start. That is Paul Scholes. He is your favorite midfielder's favorite midfielder. There's nothing Paul Scholes couldn't do. You want him to pick the ball up, drop deep, control the game, he could do that. Want him to spread the play, he could do that. Want him to sit deep and destroy opposition attacks, he could do that. Want him to bomb forward with the ball, run through, maybe not as good, but he could do that in spells. Want him to bomb forward and be the third midfield runner getting into the box, or staying on the edge of the box to absolutely wallop them in. He could absolutely do that as well. Paul Scholes, I think, is one of the greatest. He is one of the greatest Premier League midfielders of all time. In fact, he's one of the greatest midfielders of all time. Period. And if you want to argue with me, go ask the likes of Xavi, Iniesta, Roy Keane, any player who played against him or alongside him, or who even just watched him, will tell you that, can testify to that. Yeah. His midfield partners. I'm going to read the other midfielders on this list, by the way. Roy Keane, Frank Lampard, Patrick Vieira, Cesc Fabregas, Steven Gerrard, David Silva, and Kevin De Bruyne. Just so you know how hard this decision is. Roy Keane, for me, gets it. It's not just he was an all-round midfielder. I mean, a bit before my time, that was when he was younger, but even as he aged, he kind of took a step back, but he was still such a fantastic all-round player. And I think what adds to Roy Keane is the aggression, the leadership as well, that mental side of the game. A lot of these guys were leaders, but Roy Keane, when you think of Premier League captains, he's one of the most iconic Premier League captains around. And it's just that temperament, that desire, that passion, that energy, that fire. You think about the Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira battles in the Arsenal United prime rivalry years. Think about Petergate. You think about all of it. Roy Keane, for me, alongside Paul Scholes and one more, he just has to win out. Especially, I was thinking it was between him and Patrick Vieira actually, and just for the fact that Keane was involved in winning more trophies with Manchester United and was there longer, not just with United but with Forest as well. Just because he was at that level longer than Vieira was in the English game, I've got to give it to Roy Keane. Oh yeah, by the way, Paul Scholes won what 13 Premier League titles. Incredible achievement as well. That's that's more than any other player. I think he's tied with Ryan Giggs. So that tells you how good Paul Scholes was to be in that, to be able to play that long and win that many titles. And be an integral part of winning that many titles as well. Third guy, Frank Lampard. See, I was stuck. I wanted to go Kevin De Bruyne, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard. At different stages, I've rotated between those three. De Bruyne, maybe not as strong defensively, but going forward, no there's no better creator from midfield than Kevin De Bruyne in Premier League history. I mean, his what's it called? His signature being the right half space, right side at half space, whipping in a low delivery to the left back post for likes of Raheem Sterling, Leroy Sané, and later Erling Haaland. Absolutely incredible player. Always could run you ragged, could control the game when he needed to, and you could never take your eyes off him when he had the ball because he just created magic every time. Steven Gerrard, Liverpool legend, should have joined United, but we'll leave that. Um, all around fantastic player. I mean, he is the one. We spoke about Roy Keane playing all positions. Spoken about Paul Scholes being an all-round midfielder. Steven Gerrard, literally his career is moving around in different midfield positions, whether it was defensive midfield. Sorry, he started kind of central slash then attacking. Then he moved to the right midfield slash right wing for a little spell as well. For finally in his latter days dropping a bit deeper to play like defensive midfield, holding midfield. Steven Gerrard. The only reason I've picked Frank Lampard over Steven Gerrard is because Lampard's goal return is just incredible. I mean, over 200 goals for Chelsea from midfield. I think he has about 180 in the Premier League, just in the Premier League alone, all from midfield as well. I think there is. Oh, wait, no, sorry, is it? I may have my stats wrong here, but I'm pretty sure he had, yeah, yeah. We probably over 180 Premier League goals from midfield. It's an outrageous return when you consider he's up there with the likes of Ian Wright and Sergio Aguero and Mo Salah, and these are the players who are in that same bracket. And Thierry Henry, of course. These are the players with with similar numbers of Premier League goals. Just because of that goal return for me, he was, of course, also a bit of an all-round midfielder, though he was a bit more attack-minded than likes of Keane and Scholes and Gerrard and them. But that goal return is just incredible, and for that reason, I've got to include him in this all-time Premier League XI. The wingers, wide forwards, none of them make this team. I know it might be a bit controversial. When you think about Salah, Beckham, Ronaldo, Bergkamp, Giggs, Hazard, all brilliant creators, all magicians in their own way. But there's only room for three more players in this Premier League XI, two of whom, in my opinion, are number one and number two in the greatest Premier League players of all time, and therefore need to be in this XI. And the third guy is, well, I'm giving it away already. I'm sorry. Third guy is, so my the striker here, third guy, Alan Shearer, greatest Premier League goal scorer of all time, 260 Premier League goals. If I'm not mistaken, his return was about a goal every 2 games in the Premier League, which actually he scored 260 Premier League goals in 441 Premier League games. That's better than one in every 2 games. And he did that for how long? If I'm not mistaken, he maintained that record for about 14, 15 seasons to get to get more than a goal every 2 games over that long a period. And not just to get that, but all kinds of goals with his head, close range finish, long range shots, volleys, all of them. All of them. Incredible. I can't leave this guy out of this Premier League all-time XI. It's just not right to do so. You do have to give recognition for some of the, like, I know some of these sound like I'm just looking at records and numbers with like Petr Cech, Frank Lampard, and Alan Shearer, but you have to recognize and respect it because these numbers aren't just, they come from somewhere. They're results of something, and the fact that they are records these players hold tells you that there are this Premier League has been going on for, gosh, let me do quick mental maths, going into its 35th season now, and there have been thousands and thousands of players who haven't beat this record, who haven't beat any of these records. So we've got to give respect where it's due. So Alan Shearer for me in there. As a reminder, the other forwards or strikers: Wayne Rooney, Thierry Henry, Harry Kane, Andy Cole, Eric Cantona, Ian Wright, Didier Drogba, and Ruud van Nistelrooy. Greatest Premier League player of all time, in my opinion, Thierry Henry. If you want to argue that, you can very nicely go kick rocks because there's no one who did what he did. I mean, no player could ever. I don't know if there's any player who's come close to 20 goals, 20 assists, 20 plus goals, 20 assists in a single Premier League season. This guy, how he didn't win a Ballon d'Or is is borderline criminal, but yeah, greatest Premier League player of all time, easy decision for me. He and Alan Shearer formed the 1-2 up top. The one guy in the midfield hole behind them, I did this actually because he's the second greatest Premier League player in my opinion, my favorite player of all, footballer of all time as well. And I think this was his perfect position right there behind the striker of strikers, Wayne Rooney. He's in best way to describe Rooney is a footballer. He is a footballer. He's not just a player, he's a footballer. He loves football, he lives and breathes football, and you could see it when he played. You want him to go out right to play right wing, you want him to play left wing, you want him to play number 10, you want him to play up top, you want him to play in midfield, you want him to drop back and help his defenders. Didn't matter what you asked him to do, didn't matter what his role was. When Rooney would play it and he would do it well because he loved football. You want him to pass, you want him to play as you want him to pass, break the lines with the pass, you want him to keep simple possession, you want him to be on the end of moves, finishing them off, you want him to start them off, you want him to drop back and track back and tackle. I've seen Wayne Rooney do them all time and time and time again, coming up big occasions, and it's criminal that England didn't utilize him properly, or that he got the abuse he did playing for England, because this guy is just an incredible footballer. Second greatest Premier League player of all time, again behind Thierry Henry. And yeah, he rounds up my all-time Premier League XI. So I'm gonna summarize it again. Petr Cech, Gary Neville, John Terry and Rio Ferdinand, centre back, and Ashley Cole, left back. Midfield 3 is Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, Frank Lampard. And up top, I've gone two strikers in Alan Shearer, Thierry Henry, with Wayne Rooney playing in the hole right behind them. So thank you very much for listening, guys. And again, as always, if you've got any comments, because I'm sure you have comments about this XI, I'm sure you want to name, or even just name your own XI in the comments, and let's get conversations going. I mean, we mean arguments, but let's call it conversations. Let's get these discussions going. Leave a like, leave a comment, send me an email. Thank you very much for listening. It's been Talking Balls. Take care and see you next week.